Our protagonist Yotsuya, a middle school student, arrives at home and starts playing a video game. Every day he spends his time like this and prefers to stay alone. But because of this, his homeroom teacher often advises him to get some friends or else he will have a hard time surviving in his future high school. Yotsuya ignores him and continues his life like this. One day, after school, the homeroom teacher gives a lecture to Yotsuya for not submitting his future plan. Like every time, he advised him to find a career and become social. Yotsuya is getting bored and wants to go home early to play some games. He notices two of his classmates talking. He finds it weird for students to stay up this late at school but continues to listen to what the teacher is saying. Finally, the teacher ends his lecture and tells Yotsuya to submit the future plan by tomorrow. After the teacher left, Yotsuya tells the classmates to leave because today he is in charge of locking up the class. However, as he turns, there is no one. Suddenly, strange things start to happen. A butterfly net appears and falls on the ground. Outside the class, a small girl runs by while laughing. The blackboard starts to get filled with flowers. And then, Yotsuya's body starts to disintegrate. A few seconds later, he finds himself in a different world, with very weird-looking animals. Shindo and Hakozaki, the two classmates from earlier, joins him. Yotsuya believes he is in a dream, but just then a half-head man calling himself the Game Master appears. Yotsuya tries to ask about what is happening to him, however, the Game Master ignores him and gives them a quest to complete. The three of them have to complete the village chief's request within 14 days. After every completion of the quest, new members will join until they complete the 10th quest. Shindo was the first member to join, followed by Hakozaki. As per the spinning wheel, Shindo becomes a witch with a specialty in wind, and Hakozaki a warrior. And this time, it's Yotsuya's turn. The Game Master spins the wheel. As the wheel is spinning, both Shindo and Hakozaki are praying for Yotsuya to get a warrior. But unfortunately, he becomes a farmer. Everyone is depressed and wonders how they are going to survive. After the Game Master leaves, Shindo explains how she and Hakozaki end up here. She was the first one to join, and after completing the first quest, she returned to the real world. As per the Game Master's instruction, she met Hakozaki. And in the second quest, she also joined. This time, after completing the second quest, as per the instruction, they were waiting for Yotsuya. Yotsuya still believes that this is just a dream, but then Shindo warns him to not make this mistake. The Game Master told her that, normally they will revive after 30 seconds. However, if everyone at the same time dies, they will die for real. Yotsuya is a bit worried. He asks if she knows who the Game Master is. Shindo reveals that the Game Master is from the future and that's all she knows. After it, Shindo guides Yotsuya and teaches him how to navigate through the settings. As instructed, Yotsuya squints his eyes to see the stats and weapons he possesses. However, he is devastated to see he has a hoe and a sickle. On the way, Yotsuya finds a log point. Shindo explains that by touching it, they can see a bit of their past interaction happened at this location. Suddenly multiple goblins appear. Yotsuya takes out his sickle and attacks them. But his weapon is not suitable. Shindo provides backup, but her magic is weak. They all are very low level and that's why their attacks are not dealing enough damage. Scared Hakozaki, instead of fighting with her sword, she threw it. Yotsuya tries to pick up the sword but couldn't because they are only allowed to use their own designated weapons. Yotsuya takes out his hoe and tries to attack. But, the goblin smashes his face. Yotsuya dies, but after 30 seconds, he revives. Yotsuya comes up with a plan. Using Shindo's magic as a distraction, he attacks the goblin. But in exchange, he also dies. Soon Yotsuya revives. And after it, they get rid of the remaining goblins. At night, they camp a little away from the forest. Yotsuya takes the initiative to guard, while Shindo and Hakozaki sleep. In the forest, he defeats the goblins that were nearby. However, he suddenly hears Shindo scream. He rushes there and finds the camp is on fire. He is terrified to witness Hakozaki's half-body and Shindo getting eaten alive by a big monster. Yotsuya starts to remember that if they all die, they will die for real. So he grabs Hakozaki's half-body and keeps on running until he finds a safe place to spend the night. The next day, even after reviving, Hakozaki's right arm is not regenerating. Hakozaki reveals that her arm was eaten by the monster, and maybe that's why it's not regenerating. Yotsuya fears that if this is true then probably Shindo will not come back unless they kill the monster. With him being a farmer with no attack or magic power, he has to find a way to complete the quest with Hakozaki. And then maybe Shindo will come back. They go to the village to complete the quest. And as they enter it, everyone starts to call them heroes and thanks them for coming here. In this game by default, the NPC will immediately recognize them as the heroes and will treat them accordingly. From there, they go to the village chief and request the job they have to do. The village chief shows a paper and tells that they have to protect the village from the troll. Yotsuya is in shock to see that it is the same monster that ate Shindo. He keeps on thinking about how to defeat it. Because he finds Hakozaki useless, he doesn't want to rely on her. Even though she is a warrior, she cannot defeat even a single goblin. So, Yotsuya decides to go to the forest to increase his level. Hakozaki wants to tag along to support him. However, Yotsuya doesn't want a burden and tells her to stay in the village. Yotsuya goes inside the forest and starts looking for goblins. Soon, he finds multiple goblins and starts defeating them. However, one injured goblin manages to escape. Yotsuya didn't chase after him and let him escape. He looks at his stats and notices his rank has increased to level 9. However, Yotsuya looks further and is frustrated to see that if he had defeated the injured goblin, he would have gotten to level 10, and as a reward, could have changed his occupation. Just then, a notification pops up indicating Hakozaki has died. Yotsuya is in a panic. He looks and finds that the whole village is burning. He rushes there and notices that Hakozaki is not reviving, which means just like Shindo, the troll ate her. Yotsuya starts to fear and is extra cautious, because no matter what he should avoid death. In the middle of the village, he finds a log point and touches it to see the past. Inside it, Yotsuya got to know that Hakozaki has an illness in the real world. As a result, she is not able to engage in physical activities and finds herself a burden on her parents. But since in this world, she doesn't have any illness, she wants to try hard and help her party members. Yotsuya starts to feel bad for the things he thought about her. Soon after the troll attacks the village, Hakozaki sacrificed herself in order to protect a child. Back in the present, the troll appears, and Yotsuya starts to run so that he can avoid death. But the troll catches up and throws him away. Yotsuya lands on the river and reduces the fall damage. However, the troll is just behind him and starts to attack like a frog. Yotsuya dodges the attacks, but he is getting exhausted. He finds the injured goblin and attacks him. With it, Yotsuya's rank increases to 10 and everything suddenly stops. The game master appears and spins the wheel. Yotsuya prays for something strong where he can use a blade. However, this time he becomes a chef. Yotsuya is disappointed but then realizes he can use the chef's knife. Along with it, he got a chef's skill, which helps him in seeing edible parts inside a living creature. The time resumes and Yotsuya attacks Troll's stomach. And just as he expected, both Shindo and Hakozaki revive. The troll is getting exhausted with too much blood loss. So using this opportunity, Yotsuya attacks the troll but the skin is tough and he is not able to deal any damage. Shindo and Hakozaki also attack. But they all keep on dying and reviving. Yotsuya comes up with a plan and as the troll attacks them, he gets inside the stomach through the wound and deals some damage inside it. The troll kills Yotsuya, however just as planned Shindo goes up the top of the troll and uses her magic to blow air inside him. With this, the troll is defeated. After it, the game master appears and congrats them. As for the reward, he asks Yotsuya what he wants to ask. Yotsuya thinks for a moment and asks what will happen after they complete the 10th quest. The game masters show them a vision, where a city is destroyed and they are fighting a dragon. Soon after it, they return to the real world. None of them understand the meaning of it. Yotsuya looks at the time and notices it is the same as when they left. Shindo tells that the next quest will probably start in a few weeks and by then they have to wait. After it, they all go to their homes. After a week, at night, the game master instructs Yotsuya to head to his school. Yotsuya reaches his school and goes inside the girls' restroom. However, the sight is not normal. Yotsuya panics and asks the game master if there is some mistake. The game master tells Yotsuya to save the girl in the glasses. Yotsuya understands his mission but doesn't know how to approach the situation. The girls are freaking out. One of them points the camera at Yotsuya and threatens to leave or else they will upload this on the internet by tagging him as a pervert. Yotsuya understands that if this happens, then he will get in trouble. So he snatches the phone and snaps it in half. The girl is devastated. After it, just to be careful, Yotsuya breaks every single phone. The bullies are terrified and run away in fear. Yotsuya, acting like a hero, approaches Yuka, the girl in glasses. She is very creeped out to see a boy in a girl's restroom at this time of the day. But anyways, thanks him for the help. On the way, Yotsuya is still feeling very proud of his bravery. However, the girl is creeped out and wants him to leave her as soon as possible. After walking her for some distance, Yotsuya goes back to his home. At his home, Yotsuya suddenly returns to the game world and reunites with Shindo and Hakozaki. But this time, Yuka is also there. She is totally confused and stares at Yotsuya as if he is a stalker. Just then the game master appears and Yuka freaks out even more. The game master spins the wheel, and Yuka becomes a witch with a specialty in heat magic. After it, they receive the fourth quest where they have to deliver certain goods to Radha Dorbo in 40 days. Yotsuya asks about what exactly are the goods, but the game master leaves without answering it. After it, Yotsuya greets Yuka. But to his surprise, Yuka thinks he is a stalker. She shares what happened at the school with Shindo and Hakozaki. And after listening to it, they also creeped out and ignores him for some time. Suddenly, a gigantic bug falls behind Yotsuya. A centipede comes from it and starts to throw bugs at their faces. One of them hits Yotsuya and he immediately dies. Shindo is the next one to die. Yuka comes forward and tries to help, however, even before releasing the magic, all of her MP exhausts because she tried to use a spell that exceeds her current capabilities. And she also dies. Yotsuya is revived and starts killing the bugs. He tells Shindo to stay back since her magic is not effective against them. The centipede charges at Yotsuya. Yotsuya gets on top of it and starts to cut off its legs. And soon, the centipede is without any legs. Since Hakozaki is not strong enough to use her sword, Yotsuya holds the sword with her and kills the centipede. After it, they go back to the village that was destroyed by the troll. A traveling merchant sees them and stops by to greet the heroes. After talking with him, they realize that it has been 5 years since the village was destroyed. This means that time is moving 130 times faster when they are in the real world. Hakozaki starts to worry about the boy and hopes he is alive. Yotsuya asks about Radha Dorbo. The traveling merchant opens up a map and tells them the place is at the edge of the continent. If they leave today at a horse, it would take them 30 days. Yotsuya realizes they have very less time, and they have to immediately leave. Shindo requests the merchant if he can lend his horses to them. However, he refuses because they are important for his work. He tells them about a martial arts tournament about to start in a nearby town, where the winning prize is 3 horses. Since the tournament will start in a few days, they all go to the forest to level up. Yotsuya senses something in front and alerts everyone. Suddenly a group of bandits appears and attacks them. Yotsuya takes out his knife and hits a bandit. However, the game master reduces Yotsuya's experience to level 8 because he hurt a human. Yotsuya realizes this is a huge disadvantage, and with no other choice, they all run away. However, Shindo sacrifices herself to slow down the bandit. The 3 of them didn't realize this until they reach a certain distance. Yotsuya doesn't want to waste any time saving Shindo, and tells them to complete the quest and Shindo will automatically be saved. Hakozaki and Yuka are against it and don't want to abandon Shindo. So, Yotsuya decides to participate in the tournament and tells both of them to save Shindo. After they left, Yotsuya realizes that no matter what, he always gets into a position of being alone. A few hours later, he is notified about them being caught by the bandits. With no other choice, Yotsuya decides to complete the quest by himself. He increases his chef level and gets to level 10. The next occupation he gets is a wizard who specializes in creatures. The day of the tournament has arrived. Yotsuya is ready to take on his opponent. However, in just a few seconds he is defeated. His opponent Kahabel, captain of the night. She greets Yotsuya and tells him that it's her honor to fight the hero. Yotsuya requests if he can take the horses because of his mission. Kahabel doesn't mind giving them, but in exchange she wants him to help her in defeating some monsters. Yotsuya realizes that this is the right moment to get the horses and saves his party members. So he tells her about the bandits. Kahabel agrees and makes the deal. They plan to attack at night, so before it, Kahabel decides to improve Yotsuya's sword skills. After training for hours, Yotsuya has gotten better. But due to his occupation as a wizard, he cannot improve any further. At night, after the rest of the knights arrive, they begin their plan to strike the bandits' hideout. After arriving at the location, Kahabel initiates the attack. Yotsuya with his improved reflexes takes on the bandits. And because this time he is dealing the damage after he is hit, the experience is not reducing. The bandits are in a panic as they lose their men. So, they decide to open up the cage and release their ultimate prisoner. As soon as the cage opens, every single bandit runs away in fear. The ultimate monster is the Berserker. With enough strength to take on multiple people, Kahabel decides to take on the Berserker herself. With the Great Sword of Annihilation, she charges at him. Even with an obvious size difference, she is able to withstand Berserker's attack. However, she is soon exhausted and her sword is thrown away. As she is about to get attacked, Yotsuya comes and blocks the attack. But in the process, his blade is snapped in half. Yotsuya then realizes that with his new occupation, he has the ability to persuade creatures with just words. Using the skill, Yotsuya tells the Berserker that someone behind him is going to attack him. The Berserker, as per the words, looks back and releases an attack at an empty ground. And while he is distracted, Yotsuya attacks him. But in just a single hit, he is split in half. However, Kahabel uses this opportunity and defeats the Berserker. After it, they defeat the remaining bandits and release Shindo and others. The next day, as an appreciation for helping the knights and defeating a strong group of bandits, Kahabel decides to officially escort all of them to Rei Dodorbo. After reaching a certain distance, everyone decides to rest for the night. Yotsuya uses his chef's skills to cook dinner. Everyone is loving how delicious it is. After the dinner, Kahabel decides to train their sword skills as it is necessary for close combat. One by one, they practice it. The next Kusu, a knight comes running and notifies Kahabel about the sighting of a goblin's horde. She decides to finish them with the help of her knights. However, Yotsuya stops her. He insists to let him and his party take care of this matter, since they are already lacking in experience points. After a few minutes, they finish the goblins. However, Yotsuya is worried to see his stats are not improving as much as the rest of his party members. This means that he has to find stronger monsters than goblins. As they continue their journey, inside the cart, Yotsuya opens the map and notices that only 15 days left for his party to finish the quest. The time limit is very tight, but if they continue with their current speed, they will arrive on time. Shindo notices something from afar. Kahabel uses her binoculars and witnesses 3 soldiers with some civilians fighting some monsters. They seem to be losing, with one of the civilians being injured. She asks Yotsuya what they should do. Yotsuya bluntly tells that he doesn't care about their lives and wants to use their available time wisely. But Hakozaki is against it. She wants to help them even if she has to go by herself. Yotsuya thinks for a moment and realizes that this might be some game event. By setting this up, the game master wants to judge their current capabilities. So, with Hakozaki he decides to help them. And tells the rest to continue going further, as he will later catch up with them. Taking one of the horse, both of them heads toward the soldiers. The monsters sense their presence and immediately turn toward them. Yotsuya uses his scanner and got to know that the monster is known as Kobold. With the stats it possesses, it can easily defeat both of them. One of the Kobold charges at Yotsuya. And just as expected, he is not strong enough to defeat it while being outnumbered. He uses his creature's speech skill but is in shock to see it didn't work. The Kobold bites his hand, but he drives his fingers into Kobold's eye and made him fall. While sitting on top of him, he tries to stab, however, another Kobold came from behind and kills him. Dead Hakozaki revives, but soon one of the Kobolds charges at her. After enough of being a useless party member, she is determined to contribute her share. She calmly scans her weapons and waits for the Kobold to come near her. And just in time, she takes out the long sword and stabs it. And soon, after observing how much hard time they both were facing, Kahabel arrives and finishes off the remaining monsters. Immediately, Yotsuya starts healing the injured kid and asks the soldiers who are they. Camel Toe, one of the soldiers, reveals that they are from the kingdom of Diak. As a soldier, they are abiding by their king's order to transport these prisoners to Rei Dodorbo. The prisoners' crime is to follow an unknown religion called Artiros. And because of this, they are going to execute them in Rei Dodorbo, where everyone follows this religion. Diak's king wants to send a clear message using them. Yotsuya starts to wonder whether these prisoners are the goods the game master was referring to. He is confused about whether he should save the prisoners after delivering or just let the soldiers execute them. But if he is wrong and because of his actions the prisoners died, he fears that like before, his party will get a penalty. Kahabel finds it weird for the Diak kingdom to execute its own people in a different country. Camel Toe gets a bit frustrated and demands her name along with her authority. After knowing Kahabel is from Kortenal, he finds it amusing. Because it is a very small nation, with pride, he introduces himself as the vice corporal of Diak kingdom. Because he is from a stronger nation, he orders Kahabel to mind her manners. Kahabel didn't like the tone and is pissed. She reminds him how he was about to get killed by low-level monsters if she hadn't come. Camel Toe gets furious and both of them raise their weapons. Shindo comes in between and stops them. After it, Yotsuya explains about this as their quest, and asks their opinion on what they should do. Yuka comes up with a plan that they should accompany the soldiers to Rotorbo and after it, they can set the prisoners free. Yotsuya likes the idea as he was also thinking the same. After talking with Camel Toe, they get on the wagon and go toward Rotorbo. One of the soldiers asks Camel Toe about the reason he let the heroes come with them. Camel Toe explains that he cannot let anyone die before completing the mission as it would be termed as failure. And since Yotsuya is the only person capable of healing, he had to let them accompany them. In the cart, Yotsuya asks the reason. Diak's king hates their religion. The prisoner reveals that the king wants everyone to only pray to him and finds it disturbing if anyone prays to a god. After listening to him, Yotsuya then listens from Camel Toe's perspective. Camel Toe reveals that their king only wants peace and it can only be achieved by eliminating people who follow these evil religions. Yuka is furious to hear the reason. She relates the nature of the king with her bullies, and suggests killing the king. Camel Toe doesn't like anyone talking bad about their king and raises his axe. But after persuasion from Yotsuya, he calms down. The next day, they continue their journey. A point comes where there are two routes. Camel Toe is familiar with the routes and suggests the shorter one. Everyone agrees and follows him. After some time, they arrive inside a cave, where a mechanism has to be started in order to open the gates. While Camel Toe starts it, he advises Yotsuya and his party to wait in the cave. Soon the huge power plant starts to operate. However, the gate suddenly closes and they all are trapped inside it. Camel Toe sneaks from a little hole and explains that he cannot travel with people who have hatred toward his king. He wishes them the best for what's about to come and leaves. Yotsuya panics as the goods he was supposed to deliver have gone far from him. A new path starts to form and with no other choice, they get on it. Inside it, huge pendulum-like traps are on their path. Yotsuya notices certain symbols above their floor and immediately goes upstairs. As he changes the direction of the symbol, the pendulum starts to swing slower and slower. With this, they easily proceed further. Yotsuya is careless and continues to go ahead. However, he triggers a trap and dies by falling. Soon he revives, but is in no position to climb back. He knows it is foolish for them to wait for him, so he tells them to go ahead and complete the quest without him. Shindo understands his logic and agrees. But she doesn't know how to overcome this obstacle. As time passes, Hakozaki notices there is a certain pattern on when the walls come out. After recording the timings, they are ready to go. However, just in case they are wrong about it, Shingo volunteers to go first. She successfully makes it to the other side. And soon the rest also follows her. With Yotsuya not being here, they find their chances low but continue to go further. Shindo and others open a door and find themselves in a very weird place. It almost looks like a battle arena. On looking around, they notice a monster hanging by the wall. Kahabel is panicking. She recognizes it as Gargoyle, a man-made monster that is currently petrified. However, after Camel Toe started the hydro plant, the body fluids that were earlier removed are now being filled back inside it. And soon after, the Gargoyle revives. While the rest are facing Gargoyle, Yotsuya finds a way to climb up. The wall is weak and by creating holes with his blade, he can climb up. Without any delay, he starts climbing. However, he keeps on falling. He doesn't give up and continues climbing. But soon the fire is extinguished and he is not able to see the holes. He decides to keep his eyes close, and just focus on his other senses. But still, he keeps on falling and dying. At this point, Yotsuya is exhausted and he starts thinking about his past where he had just transferred from his hometown and was having a hard time making friends. He always ended up alone and wasn't even picked for group activities. Ever since then, he starts to accept solitude. In the present, Yotsuya again tries and this time he finally reaches the top. After it, he slowly goes toward the exit. On the way, he finds a log point and touches it. Inside it, he sees that everyone is emotional over Byamsberg's death caused by a trap. Kahabel is emotional as well as furious. She swears to revenge his death. Back in the present, Yotsuya soon finds his body and gets emotional. He starts to remember the time they spent until now. He shows his respect and continues going ahead. On the other side, alongside Gargoyle, there are small bats that are also attacking. Because they are not much of a threat, Kahabel is fighting Gargoyle and the rest taking care of the bats. Shindo is confident to see Kahabel because she is the only one who can fight such a strong monster. However, soon Gargoyle pierced his hand like a weapon through her and she falls into the water below. Everyone is in shock to witness their last hope gone. Gargoyle turns toward Shindo and approaches to kill her. Shindo is in a panic because she understands the difference in their power. As Gargoyle is about to attack her, she steps on an injured bat, and everything stops. Her level increases to 10, and the Game Master appears. He spins the wheel and this time, Shindo becomes a warrior. As soon as the time continues, with all her strength she drives the sword. But is unable to breach the armor. And she is thrown away. She regains her balance and wears her hat and a shield. She notices a wound dealt by Kahabel. And remember the instruction she gave her while training. She charges at him, but Gargoyle manages to rip her hand. But this doesn't stop Shindo, as she gets on top of him. And uses her detached arm to pierce through an unarmed body part. With this, Gargoyle dies and soon Yotsuya also arrives. Kusu tells him about Kahabel and without any hesitation, Yotsuya jumps to save her. Both Shindo and Yuka are in shock. Because earlier, it was Yotsuya who said that their individual life doesn't matter, but now, he is the one who is risking his life for a girl. Yotsuya finds Kahabel and after taking her out, uses his healing power to seal the wound. But as his MP starts to diminish, he uses Gargoyle's body fluid to recharge it and continues healing her. After a few hours, Kahabel wakes up. Kusu tells how Yotsuya saved her. She finds him sleeping next to her and is amazed to witness such a creative sleeping style. But in reality, Yotsuya passed out after using too much of his MP. After Kusu leaves, Kahabel covers Yotsuya's eyes and gives a kiss on his lips. Everyone is surprised to witness the scene. But Kahabel tells them to keep this a secret. At night, Yotsuya wakes up and immediately tells them that he was wrong about the goods. He uses the third quest as the reference and explains that they were not told which village's chief request they had to complete. This means that this time also they can deliver any good as long as it can be sold. After delivering it to Raid Odorbo and they will complete the quest. Hakozaki starts to worry because this means they will abandon the prisoners. Yotsuya decides to split up. Because just in case he is wrong about his theory they can still avoid abandoning the prisoners and complete the quest. Yotsuya, Kahabel, and Yuka go after the Diak Knights, while the rest searching for the goods to deliver. Kahabel reveals that the day before they were trapped, she saw Cameltoe use a bird to send a message. She suspects that in the message, Cameltoe has mentioned her and Cortinal's soldiers. If Cameltoe and his soldiers were to be killed, then Diak's king will immediately suspect her and Cortinal behind it. And without any hesitation, will wage a war. With Cortinal being 10 times weaker, she fears her country will be destroyed. After deep thinking, Yotsuya comes up with a very nasty plan. Both Kahabel and Yuka are terrified to witness his face. By the next day, they caught up to Cameltoe. And starts following him for a certain distance. At night, Yotsuya begins his plan. He approaches them. Cameltoe and the soldiers are in shock and get into an offensive stance. Yotsuya calms them down and reminds them that there is no point in fighting, since he can't be killed. He reveals that all the knights with him are dead and except Yuka, the other 2 heroes fell in a hole. After he tells them that he has converted to Artyros and is here to negotiate for his fellow believers. He threatens them to free the prisoners or else he will use his immortality and spread his religion all over the world. Since he is a hero everyone will willingly convert and abandon to pray for Diak's king. Before leaving, Yotsuya gives them to make their decision by tomorrow. Cameltoe and his soldiers are in a panic. They fear that if Yotsuya is successful, then their king's vision to have Artyros' free world will be doomed. A soldier comes up with a plan to trap both heroes since they can't be killed. Just then, Yuka comes. The soldiers are shocked but calm down after she reveals her will to help them in their plan. Camel Toe is suspicious and asks the reason for it. Yuka tells that since becoming a hero she never had a good relationship with Yotsuya. And now since everyone is gone, she doesn't want to get stuck up with him. Camel Toe believes her. Because when he was with them, he notices that both of them never seem fond of each other. Yuka then tells them to trap Yotsuya while he is sleeping. And to help, she will guide them to their camp. Camel Toe doesn't completely trust her and lets one of the soldiers keep watch on the prisoners. After it, he takes a rope and with the remaining soldier follows Yuka to her camp. After traveling for a few minutes, Camel Toe starts to lose his patience and demands how far it is. But Yuka keeps on telling that it's just a little further. Camel Toe loses his patience and kills her. He then sent the soldier to check. But is disappointed to know that even after hundreds of meters there is nothing. They tie Yuka with rope and tell her that she will pay for fooling them. When they reach their wagon, Camel Toe is in shock to witness the prisoner's death. He cannot believe a hero did it. In front of them, Yotsuya then put the soldier on fire that was guarding the prisoners. After it, he burns one of Camel Toe's horses. Yotsuya reveals that he lied when he tells them he has converted to Artyros. Yuka uses her magic to burn the rope. And with Yotsuya escapes and the remaining horse. Yotsuya's plan is a success because now Camel Toe cannot tell his king that Courtenay's knights were involved in this and as a result, no war will happen. They arrive at the cave where the prisoners are kept safe. Yotsuya used their clothes to give the illusion to make the fake body appear real. Outside the cave, Yuka asks if he not lose his experience points for killing the soldier. Yotsuya reveals that he has already lost it. But it was an important part of his plan, so he had to do it. On the other side, Camel Toe is depressed to see the mission assigned by the king has failed. With no way to continue, he sends the message through a pigeon. Soon after it's leaving, Kahabel sneaks from behind and kills the soldier. Camel Toe is in shock to witness her alive. Understanding Yotsuya lied about everything, he gets furious and picks his axe to attack her. However, Kahabel brutally slices off his limbs and then deals the final blow. With this, she avenges Byamsberg's death. In the Diak kingdom, a spy notifies the king about the death of Camel Toe and his soldiers. After reading the letter, King got to know it was the heroes who were behind this. He starts to wonder why someone who is meant to save humans is hurting them. The spy raises the possibility that Camel Toe did something foolish that angered the heroes. But despite that, killing Diak's people is a sin. And he insists the king take revenge, even if they are heroes. The king agrees and orders the spy to find and research possible ways by which the heroes can be killed. On the other side, Yotsuya prepares two other options just in case the prisoners are not the goods. Yotsuya transfers some boxes onto the wagon. We don't know yet what's inside the boxes, but Yuka is not very confident about it. She raises her suspicion about it, however, Yotsuya believes there is a possibility of them being the goods. Yuka is not comfortable riding the wagon. So, she requests Yotsuya to switch places. Yotsuya agrees, but Kahabel gives a sudden reaction upon hearing it. Yuka is confused to witness it. But as they continue the journey, she realizes that Kahabel might be into Yotsuya and wanted to ride alongside him. After traveling for hours, they decide to rest for a bit. Kahabel, while blushing, approaches Yotsuya intending to say something. But was not able to say it, because there were people around. Yuka is bursting with excitement to realize that Kahabel was about to confess her love. As they resume their journey, Yuka is swaying around in excitement. Her inner weeb is exploding to witness a real-life romantic story. Yotsuya and the little kid notice Yuka and wonder if she is okay. They rest for a bit. And after Kahabel catches a huge beast, Yotsuya cooks a delicious lunch with his chef's skill. On the other side, Shindo's group finds a merchant. They ask him about the possibility for him to deliver any goods to Reda Dorbo. But they are disappointed to get rejected again. After hours of searching, they finally meet a merchant who is carrying goods to Reda Dorbo. At night, Kahabel approaches Yotsuya. She sits next to him and shows her appreciation. She is deeply grateful to him for helping her in avenging her knight's death. After saying this, she goes to sleep. Yuka is disappointed to know this was all Kahabel wanted to say. The next day, Yotsuya and his group finally reach Reda Dorbo. As per his plan, they first get the prisoners to safety. However, the quest is still pending. After it, they try to sell Camel Toes and his soldiers' accessories. However, the quest is still ongoing. At last, they deliver 3 boxes to the knights. After it, their quest is completed. Inside the boxes, it is camel toes and his soldiers' heads. After warning about the malicious plan of the Deox king, the knights willingly accepted the heads and showed their gratitude for alerting them. Shindo on her way is notified about the quest completion, and later they reunite with Yotsuya's group. Apart from this quest, there is one more quest in which they have to explore 5% of Raidot Orbo. Since they have already completed 4.83%, they decide to split up and explore the rest. Everyone except Yotsuya has already left to explore. He is in front of the setting sun. Kahabel approaches him. She informs him about her and Kusu's departure. She seems a bit sad but expresses her gratitude for letting her help the heroes in the mission. Both of them shake hands, and Yotsuya, after bidding goodbye, leaves to complete the quest. The next day, the heroes are still exploring. Around 15 hours are remaining for the quest to be over. And they have completed 4.96% of the map. Yotsuya is optimistic and believes they will complete it before the time limit. However, by the time it's evening, it's starting to snow very heavily. Kahabel and Kusu were planning to leave, however, their departure is postponed. Looking at the weather, she is worried about the heroes. Using his other characters' outfits, Yotsuya wears them on top of each other. But despite it, he is finding it difficult to move. He fears that if he dies because of freezing, he will die and will not revive. Because when the troll ate Shindo, she didn't revive either. And just like then, if dies of freezing, his body's temperature will remain low, and would not be able to revive again. To prevent that, he starts raising his legs as he continues to go ahead. It is the same with the rest. They are barely able to hold this cruel weather. But soon, Hakozaki reaches her limit and collapses. She tries to move further, but couldn't and goes unconscious. On the other side, Shindo realizes that after all this time she was only going in circles. She is devastated and gets on her knees. Yotsuya checks the map and finds that they haven't progressed much. He concludes that the rest of them died of freezing. And now he is the only one remaining. Even though only 10 miles are remaining, he still finds it challenging to complete because of the weather. And because there are only 6 hours left, he can't even go to a nearby cottage and wait for the weather to go back to normal. He suddenly senses something and sees a Yeti-like monster next to him. The monster starts attacking. Yotsuya takes the hit, but he recovers and deals some damage with his knife. He scans the body to find a potential soft weak spot. And after it, he manages to defeat it. 3 babies come out and start crying to witness their mother's death. Yotsuya feels bad for them but knows this is just a game. And there is no point in getting emotional. With 5 hours remaining, he continues walking. However, he suddenly falls into a hole. As he is falling, he is in a panic, because they all will die for real if he also dies. And after falling from such a height, Yotsuya dies. However, he soon revives. He is surprised because he thought everyone was dead. He opens the panel and notices Yuka is still alive. After all this time, she created a small igloo and hid herself under it. As a result, prevented herself from freezing. Yotsuya looks around and notices a dungeon with strange language written all over the walls. He goes ahead and notices skeletons lying around. He is suspicious to go any further, but since here his body is maintaining the temperature, he can complete the quest. But before he proceeds further, he is notified of Hakozaki dying. Shindo is still alive and continues going ahead. Soon after, she finds a village. She starts running toward it. But unknowingly she was all this time running on a frozen lake. The ice cracks and she dies too. Yotsuya finds it challenging to complete the remaining distance but still goes ahead. In front of him, the path is blocked. So he turns back to find another route. But no matter which route he picks, they all are blocked. Suddenly the ground starts to shake and an earthworm-like monster emerges. Yotsuya is terrified but was relaxed after knowing these monsters only eat dirt. And by following him, he is also exploring the dungeon. But then, another earthworm-like monster comes from behind. However, unlike the previous one, he eats Yotsuya. Yuka is notified of Yotsuya's death. She is devastated to realize she is the only one remaining. She gathers her courage and continues to go ahead. As she was about to collapse, a voice comes and tells her to not give up. In front of her, there is Fatina, a magic user on a big cat. She recognizes Yuka as a player and helps her in completing the quest. Yuka checks the time remaining and is devastated to see it is only 3 minutes remaining. She is panicking and fears they will not make it in time. Fatina understands her worry and with the help of Wind Spirit, she boosts her speed. Yuka is surprised as well as curious. She asks Fatina if she is also a player. Fatina with a smile replies that she is just a magic user. With a few seconds remaining, Yuka closes her eyes in fear. After the time goes to 0, they all are alive. The game master appears and congratulates them for the quest completion. Just like every time, he asks the latest member to ask any question. Yuka starts thinking and is very curious to know about the mysterious magic user. But after thinking for some time, she asks if this world is only a virtual reality. The game master reveals that this is a parallel world. This is a result of the individual's decisions. Just like this, there are infinite Earth exits with different names, with different laws of physics. He added that everything except them is a real living thing. Yotsuya is devastated to know the reality. He is starting to tremble to realize he killed real people. Shindo and Hakozaki are surprised to witness his reaction. They ask Yuka if she knows anything. Yuka reveals how when they saved the prisoners, Yotsuya killed a soldier during it. Not realizing they were real, he burned him without any hesitation. Back in the real world, Yotsuya is still tormented to realize the reality of the other world. He almost feels like puking to know what he has done. Even at school he hardly participates in classes and just barely holds himself together. Shindo and Hakozaki see him but couldn't gather the courage to talk. They believe it will be better if they just let him on his own for some time. After school, on his way home, Yotsuya gets a message from the game master. He doesn't want to continue playing the game, but because he cannot forfeit it, he is forced to complete the game. He opens the message. In it, the game master asks about his honest feeling after he killed someone. Yotsuya is in shock to read it. He deletes the message immediately and heads to his home. He is irritated and confused to comprehend why would game master send something like this. He wonders if killing a person was also in his game plan or if he just made the wrong decision. Suddenly a little girl holding a bug net appears in front of him. Yotsuya is freaking out to know she is the game master. She has come here to ask the reason he didn't answer the message. Yotsuya explains that he made a terrible mistake. He could have solved it different way if he had known the reality. The game master accepts the reason and tells him about the fifth party member. They go to a Chinese restaurant. There she explains that the person sitting afar used to deal with drugs. But during his time, he messed with some gangsters and now his life is in danger. In 20 seconds, Tori, the fifth member along with his young brother will come here to kill him. The gangsters who gave the order trick them into believing he will not be caught by the police. And Yotsuya's objective is to prevent the killing and make sure Tori and his brother are not arrested. After 20 seconds, Tori covering his face arrives with 2 other people. He is holding bats and immediately charges at the ex-drug dealer. But before he kills him, Yotsuya stops him. Tori is furious and with others starts attacking Yotsuya. However, because of Yotsuya's training in the other world, he is now better in combat. And defeats all 3 of them. Yotsuya tries to convince Tori to not go this route, or he will ruin his and his brother's life forever. The restaurant owner is panicking to witness the situation. He quickly alerts a gangster about a middle school student ruining the plan. The gangster with a gun enters the restaurant. He is furious to witness his plan ruined by a kid. He points the gun at Yotsuya and demands the gang he works for. Yotsuya is freaking out to witness the gun. He explains that he is not involved with any gang. But the gangster believes he is lying and is about to shoot. Just then, the game master appears. She offers Yotsuya the creature's glove. Yotsuya takes it, and before the gangster shoots, he uses his skill to make him stop and lands a strong punch. The police are on the way. Listening to the siren, Yotsuya before leaving, tells Tori to leave with his brother as soon as possible. Tori is confused and wonders who Yotsuya was. The gangster gains consciousness and tries to shoot at Yotsuya, but Tori notices it and kicks away the gun. The gangster is furious because for all these years he was the one who took care of him and his brother. But Tori now understood that he was being used. He steps on his face and leaves with his younger brother. Consider liking and subscribing this channel if you enjoyed the recap. Have a wonderful day ahead.